This week on the Digital Marketing Scoop, we're talking about the top tips for Facebook and Instagram ads, and also a first look at Instagram guides. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Digital Marketing Scoop. So this week we'll be talking about tips around Facebook ads, tips around Instagram ads, and also a look at a new feature on Instagram guides. Do you want to kick us off, Pamela?
Yeah, so we'll start off with we just want to go through the Facebook campaign. So your campaign objectives. So choosing the right campaign objective is paramount for your ads. So if you have a video and you want loads of people to see the video, maybe video views is a great campaign objective. But then later on, you can target people who have watched, say, a good portion, say like 50 or 75% of that video with offers for your brand. So it's all about just choosing the right campaign objective. You have, traffic to your website, you have catalog sales, if you have a catalog, e-commerce site. So literally just choosing the right campaign objectives for each ad and then choosing the right content, obviously, for those campaigns.
That tip there on the video as well is a really nice way of kind of moving people down the funnel. So like
Yeah.
if you have a broader video views campaign on a particular product or service or whatever it is, and then they get anybody who gets 50% through that video, then they see kind of your next step down the
Yes. Yeah.
funnel. So
Yeah, because
that's
they're interested.
exactly, yeah. So it's a really nice way to, okay, I'm going to reach this broader audience, and I'm going to narrow them down based off the watch time on the video.
Yeah, because some people can just think, oh, video views, that's just a vanity metric. Oh, you just want loads of people to see your video, but it actually has a purpose for later down the funnel.
And of course, initially as well on building brand and building trust as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and just getting yourself out there and known to people. So yeah, so then moving on to the ad set. So just a few things to watch out for. So one of the things would be when you're selecting your audiences. So make sure you have all of your audiences built out before you start creating your campaigns. A lot of people will start creating the whole campaign and then just click, 18 to 65-year-olds in Ireland and just leave it at that. So you have to create your audiences first and then select your custom audiences, your lookalike audiences or your saved audiences in there.
And you can get really creative with your audience as well. I know one thing we discussed about is, when a company comes to us and they're like, oh, everyone's our customer.
Yeah.
But of course, with digital marketing, that's not how it's going to work. You have to get as niche as possible. So, try and get really, test, really creative audiences. Like if you're a florist, let's say, you might be a really cool way to target wedding photographers, because they're already doing a sale potentially before the flowers are needed for the wedding. Or if you're a car dealer and we say you've got a 7-seater SUV, target big families, get really
Yeah.
specific with your targeting that way. So it's not like, oh, I'm selling cars, I want to get in front of people interested in cars.
Yeah.
Break it down, and that really goes for every industry and every product. You can start niching and sub-niching all the way down, and then obviously you can get creative with the actual ads themselves then as well to those specific audiences.
Yeah, exactly. So like on that point, it's definitely better to have, say, different ad sets for different audiences instead of, you've made all the audiences and then you just click, 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 click all in the one ad set. So
Yeah.
it's talking to each one individually and like breaking up those ad sets into different ones.
Yeah, and I suppose that's even something I'm jumping to Google Ads now, but that's something we talked about on Google Ads for donkey's years. That's so important that you do talk to your specific audience and make them as niche and granular as you possibly can.
Yeah, and then so your placements. So Facebook automatically just clicks automatic placements, and there's like loads of placements in there that you probably don't want your ads to be seen in. So say, the news paper articles, the video in between the videos, and the Facebook
Yeah.
catalog and all those kind of ones.
There's like little side ads on Facebook as well.
Yes, yeah.
That very often, you might get impressions, but are you actually getting eyes on them? And again, this comes back to your conversion tracking. You probably will get them cheaper, But yeah, there's so many different placements across all of Facebook and all of Instagram. The stories
Yeah.
there. So you need to think about, I suppose, where best your ads should be. But a lot of that will come back to making sure that whatever your KPIs are, whatever your conversions are, that you're tracking those, so that okay, stories are getting me this conversion rate, or
Yeah.
it's costing me this much per customer on stories, it's costing me this much per customer on the feed. And once you have that data, then I think it becomes a lot easier.
Yeah, and it's about the content you want to promote as well. So if you have all this portrait content, you only want to show up on, say, Instagram stories, maybe Facebook stories. So you can literally unclick everything else and just promote on stories, which I think a lot of
Yeah,
people don't use. And then if you just have Instagram stories selected, you can actually run, the polls that you can do in Instagram stories.
yeah,
You can do them in ads. And I think it's such an underutilized tool that like it's just so much fun, because people actually don't even realize that it's an ad. Then if they're just like clicking on the poll, they're like,
it's
oh, that's fun.
interactive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a really good way to get people interacting with your brand and seeing it. Yeah, and I just think it's an underutilized one, definitely in the
It
placements.
it is, because I think for most people who do ads, it's like with Google, certain things are pre-ticked for you already, and a lot of people don't they don't change from that.
Yeah.
And you're potentially getting, you'll see your stats coming in with all this reach and all of this all these impressions. Um, but you know yourself, when if your ad is showing in a newspaper article and you're flinging through the article, are they actually taking in the brand? Are they?
Yeah.
So I think it is very important to, especially if you're on if you have a very small budget, to make sure, okay, I'm showing up in the Facebook feed, the Instagram feed, and the
Yes, the ones
stories,
where you want to be. Yeah.
rather than potentially being out your ad kind of seen, maybe.
Yeah. And just on the articles as well. So your brand mightn't align with what's happening in that article. It could be a complete like mismatch, and
Yeah.
you don't want to be there. So, if you had like a serious brand and then it was a really off left field kind of article or something, you wouldn't want to be associated with that article. So it is
Yeah.
about just being careful with your brand as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, we have the different ad formats in terms of carousel ads. Love carousel ads.
Yeah. I do too.
Really interactive. So they're the ones you might have 4 or 5, however many pictures, and you're just swiping them left
Swiping,
to
yeah.
right. So it's one area on the screen, but swiping left to right on them. Generally, I think quite interactive as well. A bit like the polls,
Yes, yeah.
they're much more interactive than just, say, standard static image.
Yeah.
And again, you can take that customer on a little journey as they're scrolling through them as well, which I always think is nice.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just planning that content for the ads that you want to create. And so if it's a carousel ad, maybe like make them connect, so you're swiping along and all the pictures are connected, or, the video is in the right format, as we were saying, like with the Instagram. So if you're going to make a video just for Instagram stories, it has to be in the portrait mode. And then if you want it for the feed, it can be a landscape. So it's just really thinking about where these ads are going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And last thing, Pamela, new feature released on Instagram
Yes,
guides.
I am so excited about this. Oh, it is. Do you know what? It's just brilliant though, because literally, the way we were talking to Kira from Socially Kira last week on the podcast. Pity now that the guides didn't come out before we talked to her, but
We'll have to have
we
her
were.
back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But we were talking all about how Instagram is really honing in on the saved posts and face or Instagram shopping and all of those kind of things. So it's literally been honing in on those, and now the guides are utilizing that. So you can share your own posts, or you can share posts that you've saved into a guide. So I think it's brilliant. I was thinking about this. And I was like, oh, I think, one place that would work really well is travel bloggers. So they have, on their feed, it's like all these gorgeous photos, but you'd actually have to click into each one to be like, where were they in that photo? You know what I mean? So they can select all their own posts from, say, Bali or, somewhere, and then be like Bali guide, or,
Yeah.
I just think it's brilliant. And then for brands, you can say, your Christmas gift guide. So it's like all of these gifts are under €100. Here's the guide on it, and it's all your different posts.
And have your Instagram shopping in there, linked in there, so it's easy
Yes,
if you're
yeah,
a blogger,
exactly.
have your merch, or if you're the retailer, have your product in there as well, so you can
Yeah,
jump out and purchase it from the guide then as well.
and a little plug for Click. We've been doing a Facebook audience series. So every week we launch a carousel. We love carousels as well. Post about how to make a different Facebook audience. So the minute this guide launched, I was like, perfect, I can put all of our posts about Facebook audiences into this guide, and now you have a guide on how to make all of the audiences. And it's brilliant because next week when I post another one, you can add it to the guide, so the guide is not static. You can keep adding it and making it fresh. So I just think it's amazing.
It's a great way, I think, to be able to reuse older content, because if your content's way down the feed, nobody's really looking at it. If you're on stories, it's gone in
Yeah,
24 hours.
yeah,
So this is a really nice way to maybe not evergreen
vitalize it. Yeah,
content, but definitely to utilize your older Instagram posts and your older Instagram content
yeah.
into, as you say, to revitalize it and make it useful to people.
Yeah, and I think the whole thing Instagram was as well as saying, like, provide more valuable content. So now this has really come to the forefront with the guides, because
Yeah.
any valuable content that you have will go into a guide. So it's all kind of come together now. I'm like, oh, this is why they're doing it.
Brilliant. That has been this week's episode of the Digital Marketing Scoop.